What do you mean it's not a Halloween costume? Of course it's a Halloween costume. I'm the guy from the movie Halloween. What's Mike Myers, right? Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. And welcome to the Halloween special, baby. Okay, we've got loads of questions for you today. We'll get to them in just a minute. We've got loads actually, so you might want to get yourself a cup of tea. This has been a slightly delayed episode, so that's why we've got so many questions. It did take me a little bit of extra time to put this very high quality premium costume together for today's very special episode. Before we jump to the questions though, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, keep the camera rolling, keep the lights on, keep the costumes coming. By shopping at KendoStar.com. That is how you support this channel. That's how you make sure that these videos keep coming to you free of charge, of course. So, right, let's get to these questions. Hey, Andy, can you help me with a feedback that I received from a sensei? Last week, a sensei from my dojo that moved to Japan came back to visit and train with us. I really wanted to show her that I improved whilst I was training in Japan, so I jumped right into Jigeko with her. While practicing after a few minutes, she said to me to stop trying to do ojuwaza because I can't do it and should focus on getting brave and train to stop being afraid of getting hit of my opponent. I don't think that she said to stop doing ojuwaza literally, but that I should try and enjoy my time in Jigeko with strong sensei doing what I'm already comfortable doing. What's your opinion on that? How should we approach a strong sensei that we don't see so often during Jigeko? When is the best time an opponent to try some ojuwaza while training? I'm currently shodan and I don't really know when I should focus on shikakewaza or ojuwaza. Thanks for the great videos. Okay. Great question. I think it's something that a lot of people probably struggle with, probably don't quite understand exactly how we should approach this sort of thing. I've talked about it quite a bit, how there's different types of keiko in Kendo. And when you're practicing with a sensei, you're practicing the sensei is doing what's called hikitate geiko. They're doing the sort of keiko that is pulling you up. It's there to improve your kendo. They're not they're not competitively challenging you. It's not the same as gokaku geiko. Gokaku geiko is between peers, where you're both sort of, it's a more sort of competitive type of keiko. And that isn't really, especially at shodan, what you really want to be doing with the sensei. And I think that's what this sensei's probably tried to communicate to you. So yeah, I think the thing too, I don't think it's really that they're trying to say you should enjoy the time in Jigeko trying to do what you're already comfortable with. It's not that at all. It's that the sensei is there for you to use to try to overcome your fear of striking, rather than for you to try and, trap into doing an ojuwaza. The chances are your ojuwaza isn't going to be as a result of the seme that you've applied on the sensei. It's just going to be that probably the sensei was throwing let's say you were doing men kaishido. They were throwing the men at you in the hope that you were going to challenge maybe the Dabana men or whatever, rather than you sort of waiting and doing the kaishido. It's kind of a bit sort of thing. Save your ojuwaza for gokaku geiko, for keiko with people of a similar grade and level to yourself, rather than trying to use it on the higher graded senseis. If I do the keiko with a Hachidan sensei, for example, and it's a bit different for me. Obviously I'm at a different stage. My next grade is 7th dan, all right? I'm at 6th dan now, my next grade is 7th dan. So if I practice the 7th dan, it's more like the kind of gokaku geiko style keiko at this point, because I'm at the sort of tail end of 6th dan, hopefully. So I'm trying to make myself do keiko on their level, so it's more like that. But if I do with the Hachidan, then obviously that's a massive gap as well, because basically, let's be honest, the step between 7th Dan and 8th Dan is bigger than all the other steps combined. So if I do the Keiko with the Hachidan sensei, I'm not really looking to try and do the Ojiwaza on them. I'm looking to overcome my fear of failing to strike or receiving the strike for them. And to be honest, I almost only attack men. I might attack kote sometimes, but I certainly don't start whipping out like Ojiwaza, Gyakudo, stuff like that. I used to when I was younger, and I was just trying to prove myself to myself. But once I sort of figured out that, I kind of stopped. A very, very famous sensei, I'm not going to name drop one here, but a very, very famous sensei in an interview, which you can find online in English, said that you should focus on Shikakewaza until your 5th Dan. And I think it's good advice. Next one, about the Zekken question. I submit my Zekken name in Katakana by looking at it in the table that you can find in the Katakana page on Wikipedia. Will there be any chance to submit an audio file with the pronunciation when the time of making a new Zekken comes, just to be sure that the writing is proper? Yeah, I don't recommend you do that. Obviously, this is off the back of a question from last week when we talked about transcribing names into Japanese for Zekken or embroidery. I don't recommend that you like go onto Wikipedia or Google Translate or something like that, because you'll end up with a dodgy, it's a good chance you'll end up with a dodgy sort of transliteration of your name. The best thing to do is write to us, and yeah, you can send an audio file. Lots of people do that. It's no problem at all, and we'll do it. Look, even you know, even myself, right? I speak Japanese okay, but I don't get involved really in the transliteration process of names into Japanese. I leave that to native speakers because I get it wrong. All right, so it's not something you want to go onto the Katakana page of Wikipedia and sort of pick out the ones that you think are the most appropriate. You're best trusting it to our team. All right, and yeah, by all means, send across an audio file. Just a quick one on the subject of moving diagonally away following the strike. I also have observed on several occasions hitting Gyakudo and closing the distance in a similar manner as one would for Degote, albeit with the hips in a different position to the Kote situation, and it's resulted in an Ippon being awarded. Would you say one is better than the other, or one is less desirable as an outcome, and why? Since I've observed both in my Mitori Geiko, I practice it both ways, so my question is, should I be, or is a closing in way not the best idea for some reason? So this was not a comment necessarily directly related to Kendo RANT. You posted this on in response to the video I posted yesterday. This is my natural hair, by the way. It took me a whole week to grow this out. The video I posted yesterday, which was a clip from the How to Win Shiai seminar from the weekend that I did in the UK in Bolton just this gone weekend, and the clip is of me teaching some points about how to hit Gyakudo, and in that particular clip I demonstrate striking the door and moving away diagonally backwards. Since then I've had you've written this question and someone else has written the same question about, is it correct or better to hit and separate going diagonally backwards, or is it better to close the distance and stick to the opponent? It's not like better or not better. It depends on the context of the technique itself in each specific case. Both of them are valid. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. Of course, you do run the risk when you separate, you do run the risk of receiving a strike, but if you've hit it at a good time, the correct time, they're not really going to be able to retaliate anyway. The reason in that particular clip I was talking about moving away diagonally is because in the context of the Gyakudo pattern we were teaching, that I'll let you into a secret, that isn't the whole segment on Gyakudo that we did at the seminar. That's just a snippet, all right? So about the whole setup of the Gyakudo, the angle from which we strike, moving away diagonally to the left, to your left, quickly, is more natural, all right? But the key to it is you've got to do it fast so that you don't receive a return strike, all right? The fact of the matter is, yeah, both are perfectly valid. Of course they are. Next one. Fish Sensei, I hope this comment finds you in glee. For thee, I have these questions 3. Very Halloween themed intro to your question. I like it. I've heard several times that to become truly great kendoka, it isn't enough to train at one's dojo several times a week. Practice is obviously the foundation. But what advice do you have for those who want to rise above? Also, I'm not very knowledgeable at all about famous and renowned kendoka and sensei. How should I go about educating myself on the big names in kendo? Lastly, in your experience, apart from 8th dan, what is the steepest increase in difficulty requirements for passing Shinsa and why? Okay, that's some good questions. The first 2 are related to each other though. So look, your first one is if you want to be really truly great kendoka, it's not enough to train by yourself. It depends what you mean by truly great for a start. But look, the best thing you can do other than train at your dojo, train as much as you can, of course, but in the times that you're not training is to do mitori geiko. Get on, I'm going to take these glasses off to do my head in. Get on to YouTube. There's a fantastic channel on there. You happen to be watching it right now that has introduced plenty of kendo for you to look at. Look out for some of the blog posts that we post at KendoStar that introduce Japanese shiai. Watch all of those and try to absorb it and try to retain the image of what's happening in front of your eyes into your brain and then try to emulate it at your practice. That is by far and away the best thing, the best use of your time outside of the dojo, frankly. And in terms of educating yourself on famous and renowned kendoka and sensei, that's how you're going to do it. That's how you're going to do it. You can watch the videos I've done, literally introducing some of the big names, the big famous names in kendo. And also, if you do keep watching lots of kendo, watch those videos that I'm posting on the KendoStar blog every day, pretty much, you'll start to pick up who's who. So yeah, and you have to make effort to try and retain it at the end of the day. That's the fact of the matter. And in terms of, apart from 8th dan, what's the steepest increase in difficulty for passing Shinsa and why? I think probably the biggest wall, I'd say there are 3 big walls. All right. Now, I don't know because I've only climbed over 2 of them so far. All right. So I might be wrong. There might be another one that I've just not encountered yet. But the first one is between 3rd dan and 4th dan. That's a tough one for a lot of people because it stops being just about how technically capable you are, and it starts to look at instead how you are interacting with your opponent. Then as you move forward, I think the next big wall is between 5th dan and 6th dan. Because this is when your kendo really has to demonstrate proper DI and hinkaku. It has to have, it has to be dignified. It has to be purposeful and meaneful. And I think that's very difficult. I think that I think the criteria is similar for 7th dan. Actually, but I don't know yet. I'm not tried to climb that wall. So if you ask me again in a couple of years, I might say that, yeah, that's a massive one as well. Obviously, each one is a bigger wall than the next, right? Because the pass rates go down and down. But then, of course, the pass rate for between 7th dan and 8th dan is on a total different level, right? Because as I said earlier, and I really think that the difference between 7th dan and 8th dan is it's bigger than all of the others combined. So I'd say that the gap between 7th dan and 8th dan is bigger than the gap between 1st dan and 7th dan. So at least that's how it seems to me so far. So yeah, I think for me so far, yeah, the biggest one has been obviously trying to get through 6th dan. I was very fortunate that I was able to achieve it. And I think it's because for 6th dan you have to demonstrate your understanding of not just interacting with your opponent, but actually being able to take the initiative from your opponent and properly control the flow of the tachiai. And that's very hard. Next one. Wow, this is a long one. This is a super long one. Okay, right, let's get through this. Okay, so number one, I have several questions, so I'll number them for clarity. One, I'm struggling with tying the knot behind my head when putting on my men. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read these and answer them as we go. I'm struggling tying the knot behind my head when putting on the men. I can tie it with some struggling, but it's very loose despite giving my best efforts. The last practice, one of the teachers stopped me and retied it for me. He made it very tight. And for the first time, it felt like it really fit well and it wasn't weighing down on the front of my head and neck. I practiced tying it and I can get it with a little struggling, but I can't seem to get it tight like the teacher did. Of course, the solution is to keep practicing, but do you have any specific advice beyond that? I also struggle with tying the knots for my hakama and the back part of my door, but as I can at least get them after a few tries, the men is a bigger issue since you've got to do it quickly. Update, never mind, I figured this out at practice last night. Just pull. I feel dumb. Look, I'm going to just quickly give you a tip as well on that. Look, normally you have your strings, the bits that you tie, and you pull like this and it'll pull the men around your head. What you can do is, before you do that, the bit that goes from the chichikawa around through the men gane and back, okay, and then so you've got this sort of cross, yeah. The bit, what you can do is you can pull not the string bits, but the bits that are coming straight from the like the chichikawa, but on the opposite side. So it pulls there, and you can hold them firm whilst you keep hold of the strings. It's a bit hard to demonstrate without a men here. I don't have one here either, so I can't really show you. But look, you figured it out. So yeah, it is a case of just pulling it and keeping it taut as you manage to bring it around the back. Next one. At one practice, I got hit on the torso right above where the door covers. The guy swung hard and it really stung. I think he bruised my ribs or something, because honestly, the next day I had some pain that made me consider if I'd possibly broken a rib. I was fine the following day. In my own practice, it seems like it's easy to hit that spot by mistake, and I worry that I may have hit some of the elderly teachers in the ribs. Is this a common accident in Kendo? So far, this is my only fear. Otherwise, I'm okay with getting hit on the head or wrist and, or proper hit on the door. Yeah, I'm afraid it is. It's a common occurrence in Kendo. It happens a lot because the door protects where you're supposed to hit very well. It's not so great at protecting the ribs. You sometimes do take one in the ribs and it's painful. If you're practicing with elderly teachers, yeah, I'd recommend, if it's jigeko, just don't even hit do on them, all right? Just don't do it. You don't have to. And if it's kihon or something, they're asking you to hit do, then just take care. You don't need to hit it hard. You do not need to hit it hard. Just try and hit it accurately, okay? But otherwise, yeah, it is a common thing. Number 3, in November, my city is holding an examination. My teacher wants me to get 3rd Q so that I can take part in the West Tokyo examination in February. Okay, so you're in Japan. To get 1st Q so that I can qualify to take the examination in June to get Shodan. I know I should be asking my teacher for the specifics, and I will, but do you have any idea if what I can expect from these examinations, particularly the first one for 3rd Q in November? I can't really tell you because it's different everywhere. The Q system, it's in Japan especially, like the Q system below 1st Q, it is different depending on the city that you're in, all right? Never mind the prefecture. Each city's local federation will run the Q system in a different way. So you're best off just asking your teacher exactly what you need to do for that. But look, if you can do men strikes with Fumikomi, and you know whatever kata, probably in Japan you'll be doing the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon Waza Keiko Ho up to Ikkyu. If you if you can do that and you can do Fumikomi, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Also, not a question but feedback. Several months back, I asked this group about glasses for Kendo and was amazed by the number of responses by members who do Kendo blind. I ended up buying special glasses that are made specifically for Kendo, and for the experience with them has been, so far the experience has been great. Fogging has not been an issue and they fit perfectly inside the men. I definitely recommend them over trying to do it blind. Yeah, we do. We sell the glasses frame on KendoStar, and they are pretty useful if you can't wear contact lenses. I wear contact lenses, but if otherwise, yeah, you could just use the glasses, and people really like them. One more, my tsuba cracked during practice. I have a spare, but can I fix it with super glue? No, it'll crack and break again. Super glue is not going to do it. Just buy another one. I know I said that really nonchalantly, but you could just buy one of the cheap plastic ones that like 100 yen, probably 50 yen or something, maybe 100 yen, I don't know, but like $1. In Japan in a bowl shop, yeah. Hi Sensei, a couple of questions this week. First is, how do you know when it's time for someone to start working on their short strikes? Our group had sort of different learning experience, so I'm just wondering what criteria you use to decide someone's good to start working on short strikes instead of just large kihon ones. Secondly, we have kendoka who, when striking kote, almost always hit the wrist joint of the kote or the back of the hand. Clean hit, doesn't hit tsubu or anything. Is this proper ippon, or do you have to hit the futon for it to be proper ippon? Thank you so much. Right, so I teach small swings, small strikes of the shinai after my students are able to do pretty much as soon as they're able to wear Bogor. To be honest, I teach as long as they can do. They've got to be able to do kirikaishi before I put them to Bogor, and then once they're in Bogor, I start teaching them. We do kirikaishi. We start to work on uchikomi first in a pattern, and that's all large strikes. And then we'll do kihon, and we can do that with large strikes. And I'll also teach them straight away with small strikes. Okay. And about the kote, if it is kihon, like, and you're just practicing kote strikes, then yeah, you have to hit the futon. And if they're missing the futon and the receiver is receiving properly, the chances are that they are swinging the shinai diagonally and not straight. In shiai, it depends on the context of the strike, but generally it's better to consider that it has to be on the kote buton. All right. Next one. What's the biggest fear people have once they've made kendo a lifelong pursuit? I don't know, losing the job probably. Especially people in Japan, like, you know, if it is their lifelong pursuit and it's like it is their job and they don't perform well in matches, then yeah, they could lose their job. So I guess that's their biggest fear. Well, yeah. For people who are probably more amateur, you know, people, I mean, Kendo's a lifelong pursuit for me, and I'm sort of in that sort of grey zone between amateur and professional. In that I'm not a professional competitor, I'm nowhere near good enough for anything like that. But Kendo obviously is part of my life and my livelihood. And yeah, I guess my biggest fear is losing my business. So obviously, being unable to provide for my family. I don't see that happening though, to be honest. So not that I'm what do you call it? You know, letting my guard down there, but I do think that we are the best one out there, and I do trust all you wonderful kendoka in the world to understand and recognize that. You seem to be doing so far. But I guess otherwise, for sort of regular kendoka, it's probably either failing the gradings, losing matches, or disappointing their senseis, I would say. And of course, I'm scared of all those things too. Hi, Andy Sensei. I'm in the process of ordering a new Bogor for a lady student. Okay. She's given me all the measurements. However, she's a rather big-breasted girl. How does one account for this in the standard Bogor measurements, as there's no measurements for the chest area? You need to ask her for the measurements for her chest circumference and send it to us by email. We'll do what we can, but look, I'll be honest with you. It's like the Bogor is designed in a specific way. There's a couple of ways we can deal with it, but unfortunately, you know, there's not a massive amount you can do for that. Whether it's a large-chested woman, as you say, or whether it's somebody that's it could be anyone who's maybe, you know, a little bit overweight or something. There's not an awful lot you can do, because the Bogor is mainly designed to protect the target areas. And as we mentioned earlier, the sort of upper rib area isn't protected for anyone on Bogor. What you'd be better off doing is, obviously we'd do our best to take it into consideration when we sort out the measurements, but you know, you could just widen the dormine, but then you wouldn't be able to make a proper kamae. So that's not going to work. So yeah, in my experience, I've seen, you know, companies that experiment with making sort of door for women and stuff like that with these sort of higher sides on the mune and stuff, and we've experimented with it too. but I don't think it ends up working out very well, to be honest. I think the better solution overall is, other than obviously we would try and use a door that's most appropriate size wise, but also maybe like a padded undershirt. We do sell those if there's one that fits, but I understand that maybe sizing might be an issue for some people, but or a padded sports bra, something like that, is the best way. And otherwise, for you as that person's teacher, is ensuring that your students are accurate at door strikes. Make sure they don't hit hard and they just try to hit accurately. So even if they do miss, it's not going to really welt them and bruise people. Hey Fish Sensei, love the content, keep it up. I have a question my sensei asked me a while back that I think is a good one. What makes a good dojo? Number of sensei, number of students, extra keiko activities, budget, style of practice? Not looking for a definitive answer, just your opinion, thanks. That is a good question, and I'm not sure of the answer yet. I'm quite new to running a dojo. My dojo I've only been running for a couple of years. Do I think it's a good dojo? Yeah, I do think it's a good dojo. Do I think it's the best or the perfect dojo? No, it's not. There's a lot of things that make a dojo good, of course. Of course, having good senseis is good, but also having good students and enthusiastic students that are keen to attend practice, and having a good atmosphere where everyone feels welcome and enjoys practicing kendo, but at the same time practices kendo seriously. Now, one of the things that I struggle with, of course, is that there is a difficult balance, because I do want my students to enjoy kendo with us. I do want them to feel fulfillment and enjoyment from learning kendo, but it is vitally important to me as well that I don't stray from the root of what kendo is in order to entertain people. So kendo is a difficult, physically and sort of psychologically difficult activity. It isn't all fun and games. There are times when it's very difficult and very exhausting, again, both mentally and physically, and it would be wrong of me to sanitize that for the sake of entertaining my students so that I could keep them there. So there's a difficult balance to be drawn, but I think it's a combination of lots of things, to be honest. Next one. Hi Sensei, recently I went to a Shinsa and I saw lots of practitioners using small men in Shinsa for first kyu. Oh, this is going to be a good question, I can tell already. I was told by my sensei that I should go with big men strike, but I think the big men strike is way slower than the small strike. When I used big men, it was tough to hit a valid strike on a moving target. Is there a way to get a valid strike with big men against moving players using small men constantly in the Shiai portion? I'm challenging IQ next Shinsa. No, there isn't. Not really, to be honest. Here's why I laughed at this. And do you know what, right? It's Halloween. Go for it. Go mental, all you keyboard warriors, right now, because I don't think we should use big men strikes in Ikkyu Shinsa. Why would you use big men strikes in Ikkyu Shinsa for the Jitsugi, the Shiai, if you want to call it that portion? Why would you do that? That isn't what the big strikes are for. Big strikes are not for... We don't practice the large swings of the shinai so that we can use them in matches. We use the large swings of the shinai to train our body in order to properly wield the shinai so that we can make proper strikes that are called atotsu. You do not need to make large swings of the shinai for your grading in your shinsa, in the jitsugi portion, all right? Obviously, if you're doing kirikaishi, you do it in that, because that is how we do kirikaishi in order to train our bodies to be able to wield the shinai effectively, okay? But you don't use, they are not for that. It's like suburi, it's like joge suburi, where you lift the shinai all the way down. That isn't there for us to use in matches. It's not there for that, all right? Higher suburi isn't there for us to use in matches. It's a training, a training tool for us to get better at making valid strikes. And large swings of the shinai, like you do in kirikaishi and uchikomi, are the same thing, all right? So I'm sorry, I am not going to agree with your sensei there, unfortunately, because I just don't like it. And we've got to stop doing it in a way, because we keep telling these poor beginners, you know, oh, you've got to make a big strike, make a big swing, big swing, big swing. If you make a small swing, as long as you do, but you have to do fumikomi. All right. So if you can do small swings with fumikomi, that's what the minimum what you should be able to do for ikkyu. Like, it's ikkyu at the end of the day, right? You know, it's not sixth kyu, it's ikkyu, right? So you should be able to do small strikes with fumikomi, and they get, you know, if I don't see why where this comes from. Is you have to make big swings, you have to make big swings. I just don't see where it comes from. I really don't, and I don't like it, and we should stop. All right. So do small swings and you'll hit them. And if you do big swings, you probably won't, because it's slow and you can see it coming from a mile away. All right. You won't make the valid strike. But you have to do fumikomi. All right. Or obviously, before I go on from that, I know your sensei told you to do big swings. You do the big swings if you want, like they said, but don't expect them to hit. Just don't expect them to hit, because probably won't. All right. Hi Andy, do you have any glossary about the different mune designs and their meaning? I'm trying to get more into traditional designs and getting a deeper understanding. Thank you very much for in advance. I'm looking forward to your reply. Best regards. Okay. So most of the mune designs have just been given a name based on what they kind of look a bit like, rather than having a lot of deep traditional meaning. Some of the more traditional ones, like Sangai Matsu, is like a three-step pine. They're sort of inspired by some sort of tradition, you know, some traditional Japanese design. But you know, some of the ones, if you got like saws, actually just means like totally stitched, so it just means all stitching. Yeah. Or Batsu Kazari, that's a popular one. That just means crosses, cross decoration. So they don't necessarily really have really deep meanings behind them. All right. So I don't have a massive thing there. Some of them mine do, but for the most part, they don't. Next one. Excuse me. Talking a long time. Sorry, Sensei, I'm sure you probably answered this before, but what's your recommendation for retouching the battered menbuchi, the black leather part attaching the mengan into the men, when you don't have access to cashew paint? So to retouch your menbuchi, the black part, if you can't get hold of the cashew paint, then you can either use like a gloss metal paint. Make sure it's a gloss finish. In the UK, we have a brand called Hammerite. That's very similar. Or you can use any sort of oil-based lacquer or enamel paint. You can also use, I've also used black enamel paint for like plastic models, you know, like plastic airplane models, airfix kits. We call them in the UK. There's a brand called Humbrol that do a gloss black enamel paint. That looks the same as well. So anything like that. If you get down like B&Q or any sort of, that's a super UK thing to say, but like, you know, B&Q is a big like hardware store, I think you call it in America, and get like an outdoor metal paint that's gloss black. And you'll need some white spirit to wash your brush it with, and use a synthetic brush, like synthetic bristles. Don't use animal hair bristles, it won't work as well. Hello Andy, thank you for your support you offer to the Kendo community. My question is, what would you recommend to attack in a more relaxed way? Recently I've been told to do 1,000 suburi every day. What are your thoughts on it, using a heavy suburito versus using a kiri bokken? Thank you very much. Yeah, that can help. Suburi will definitely help. The suburi bokken can be very good for that. And the kiri bokken as well. I'd you know, probably, yeah, do 1,000 suburi every day if you can, and maybe do I don't know, like 200 of them with the suburito and kiri bokken each as well, maybe. Do loads of kiri kaishu, that would help too. Loads of kiri kaishu until you're so tired you can't lift your arms. And practice. Try to keep it in your mind to relax. That's it. It's very difficult. I know that. It's not easy. It's easy to say relax, relax, but it's not easy to do. I do understand that. Okay, last one. Halloween question. Okay, I'll put my glasses back on for the last one. All right, so I'm back in character with my very scary Halloween costume. I don't see why it's so scary costume. I don't know how they made a whole Halloween movie franchise off this guy. Anyway, I'm told that I still look like a human when doing suburi. Oh, okay, good. However, when I put a men and kote on, and especially when the full moon comes out during uchikomi with sensei or jigeko, I'm going to just correct your jigeko because this is a common misspelling of it, and it kind of is a pet peeve. Jigeko is a J, not a G. G would make it gigeko, and there's no Kendo word that's gigeko. So jigeko. I literally turn into a zombie. It's true. Uh-oh. When I strike men, my arms raise above my shoulders and my I'm right arm dominant. I try to destroy every human with my downward hitting shinai, reinforced with my super zombie strength. Says any advice on how to turn from a zombie back into a human would be greatly appreciated. It's not easy. It's not, but it's like the advice to the previous person. This is fixed. Look, the remedy's simple. It is simple. Just do 2 hours of kirikashi. You know, you still won't have any power left to do it. But we can't do that, right? It's not really possible. But you have to just really concentrate on trying to forget about that tension and try to swing the shinai from your left hand so that you can put speed in your kensen rather than power behind the shinai. All right, it's not easy, but you almost have to work the power out of your body by doing lots of kirikaishi, lots of uchikomi. They will definitely help. And failing that, yeah, do loads of suburi at home. You can fix it with suburi. You really can. And especially as you say, when you're doing suburi, you still look like a human. Well, just try to keep doing that, and hopefully it'll sort of develop into muscle memory that sticks there when you get the Borgo on. I think probably what you're finding is you're getting a little bit excited when you get the Borgo on. That's why it's different from your suburi. So try to calm down, yeah, mentally, when you're doing your practice, and just take it slow. You don't have to impress anyone. All right, which is, and I'm not saying that in a patronizing way, because I feel like that all the time. I feel like all the time that I have to impress the people watching or my senseis or whatever. But just try to let go of that feeling. All right, there we go. This brings us to another end of a Kendo Rant Halloween special. What a fantastic episode it's been. Thank you very much for your wonderful, wonderful questions. I'm gonna have to think long and hard for a costume for next year. Any suggestions, put them in the comments. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for your questions. Have a great week, because it's already Monday. This Kendo Rant usually comes on a Friday, but with it being Halloween, we've got a special one. See you next time. Shop at KendoStar. Bye-bye.